You're not going to find that. You might see an eyeball one day, and then the next day you can't find it again in my work.
Let's start out with name, age, occupation.
So this is for real?
Yeah.
Are we on? We're going live? All right. My name is Brian Douglas Anderson. My age is 60 as of just a couple of days ago. What else? My weight? Maybe about 202, 204. 6'2". At one time I was. Maybe I'm a little shorter than that now. Gravity sucks. What else?
All right. So you're an artist, clearly. What in your life has brought you up to this point in your art?
Self-determination. It's not for the money. It's not for fame. It's not for anything other than just this need I have to create, to make some of the things that I see. Sometimes I just want to paint for no reason, but sometimes I'm trying to actually get a vision out of my head.
And where do you see these paintings? Like you said you see them, but where do you see them at?
So, see the paintings or the images?
Like the images before they become physical.
Just in my mind's eye, like with my eyes closed kind of stuff. Laying in bed, wake up. Everybody wakes up in the middle of the night. I do, and sometimes I just see things. And I'll be like, wow, that'd be a really cool painting. So I've got a couple of those. None of them in here, but there's a couple of those. And it's kind of cool how close I can get. It's never really completely accurate, but it's hard to get these to make what this is thinking. And I think that's the challenge. I kind of feel like my art sometimes is a big puzzle trying to figure it all out. How can I make something that I see happen on canvas or on wood or something else? That's my answer.
What was the first inspiration to get you to create? And were you seeing these images as a child and looking for an outlet, or like what brought you to?
I always had, I remember like my sheets and my pillowcase had these circles. They were different colors, and then there was a circle within a circle, and then I would just stare at it forever. And then when I was very little, I had a gigantic wall in my room that was very abstractly drawn and painted, different colors, but it was like these wisping lines, and it was a big wall, probably as big as this one. And I would sit there at night looking at that and just over and over and over in my head, figuring out what that meant, what those dimensions, what it all represented, the balance of it. I was probably 6 or 7. So I was pretty young. I didn't paint until I got to college, but I used to just sit and play in the yard and create fountains with the hose, and just building up rocks and put a hose in it and try to get it to spray and create a fountain. I tried digging a big hole to create a little basin for the water to collect. And I would just play by myself that way, like no one was with me. My sister and brother were 5 years older than I was, so I kind of had to entertain myself. They weren't interested in hanging out with me in the yard building fountains.
Do you think that there was a creative influence in your early years? Or something you just kind of stumbled across on your own?
I mean, an influence. There wasn't a person. I think things influenced me, things that I came across. Anything, if there was ever a craft or something, I always took meticulous effort in making sure that it was perfectly centered, or I don't know, I just always had an eye for perfection of my own work. I wouldn't just throw something together and call it good if there was an assignment. In high school, I had an art teacher that was, he was pretty funny. Like, he would trip over things backing up to look at something, and he was just such a character. But I think that was the first time that I ever had anybody go, holy shit, like, you've got talent, and he really saw in me the fact that I could, We did one assignment, and my copy, it was printed, but my copy ended up in the principal's office. When you first went into the high school and you went to the main office, there was my print right there for everybody to see. And we had, I think, 2 weeks to do that assignment, and I think I did it in about 5 hours. The rest of the class had been working for 2 weeks, and I didn't touch it. I didn't do anything. But I was thinking, and that's what I do, is I think longer than I actually create sometimes. Like those keys things that I do. Like I thought about that last one for over a year, how I was going to try to pull it off. And it just takes a lot of prep. But then once it happens, it goes really quick. I wish all that prep wasn't necessary because it takes a long time to create stuff for me. Yeah. Anything else? What else you got?
Yeah. Well, I know that you're really into music and
Yeah.
sound and speakers, and that's another big part of who Brian Anderson is. So I wanted to ask how music influences and inspires your art.
Yeah. Well, when you're in a studio, of course, not everybody understands the speakers that are normally in here. But yeah, that system was pretty amazing. But it's funny. I go through periods where I may not listen. Like right now, I'm fine being down here for 6 hours and listening to nothing and just listening to my own thoughts. Because sometimes music does get in the way of the creative process because there's vocals and somebody's telling you a story and it keeps you from kind of getting where you need to be. And other times, I'm listening to something and I really like it and I'll start going down a path of a band I've never heard of before. And, I've discovered some pretty cool music down here over the years. And then I let my kids know what I'm into and they make fun of me, but then I always find my stuff on their playlists. So, the old classics are great, but that's not what I listen to. I like, alternative more so than just the old classics get old. I've heard them so many times. It's good, but I like new material. So if anybody has any great bands that you want to introduce me to, I'm open.
Out of things is let me know in the comments down below.
Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit that like button.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Where do you see yourself now?
In my studio.
I mean, like artistically, compared to where you were at before.
Artistically, I'm ready. I've got a good inventory of material that I'm proud of, and it takes a lot for me to be proud of a painting or a piece of work. So over the past 10 years, I think I've really focused on building an inventory in case I ever do a show one day. I'd love to. If anybody has space in New York or something, I'd love to go and hang all my stuff, or you guys hang it or whatever. But no, as an artist, I feel comfortable in my own skin. I have a hard time finding people that are making art the way I do. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying that my visions and things that I'm going for are genuinely frustrating to some people, like my daughter. She can't figure out why I do what I do, and she wants me to paint horses and things, but I don't do that. I could, but I don't. I'm not sure why I paint the way I do, but as an artist, I think I feel displaced sometimes. Like I don't know if people are going to get what I'm doing because art typically is, landscapes or flowers or people love to be able to be told what art is. And it's real easy to walk up to a painting and go, oh, it's a great big eyeball. You're not going to find that. You might see an eyeball one day, and then the next day you can't find it again in my work. So, it's when I look at galleries, as I try to break into the art market, it's hard for me to find a gallery that's as nuts as I am. Not to say I'm crazy, but slightly. But it's, I think art to me, a lot of times when I go into a gallery or something, it seems like the same old stuff all the time. Not to say there's not amazing work out there, because there is, but I don't know. I just can't wait. I know it's going to happen. I'm going to find that right mix one day, or that right person that's going to, perhaps introduce me to a gallery or a collector or something. And I've got the inventory to move on that. Because it takes me so long to finish a painting, sometimes years, sometimes months. Very few times is something done in weeks. I'm not a fast, there's a lot of layers and a lot of sculpting in my work that just takes a lot of time. So to say that I have an inventory of work, it's taken me a long time. I've worked really hard on the paintings that I have, put a lot of hours and effort into, and a lot of thought into what I currently have and what I'm currently creating. So yeah, it's something I love. It's my passion. I'm not in the mood to sell. It hurts for me to release one of my paintings, and because they're like my children in a way. I've worked really hard to get them, birthed into this world. And, it's when somebody just takes it away and hands me monetary, paper, it's hard, but it's got to be done. Eventually I'd love to do a show where I didn't have to sell anything, but I don't know. Most of the time those galleries want to take a commission, so they're going to want you to sell it. So I got to be ready for that. I got to be ready to get rid of it. So I'm hoping to raise the price so high people won't want to. I don't sell my stuff cheap. I'm just babbling now.
Right. Well, like two more questions. Where do you see yourself in the future now, as an artist?
As an artist, like
not where you see yourself. Where will you be in the future as an artist?
it's a good question. I don't know. I'm finding it very difficult. Not that I'm 100% trying to get my name out there, because I'm not. I'd rather be here. This is my priority. If I have a couple of hours, I'm probably going to be down here creating versus maybe online trying to create a way to gain followers. It's just not so I need to sort of go through a transition in starting to, you can't sell until you're known, especially when you're going to want to demand the sort of prices that I'm going to want. I need a name for myself. And, currently anybody that's ever seen my work can tell that it's good stuff, but not many people have actually seen the work. And photography doesn't do it justice. You have to see it in person. A lot of times I'm painting around the edges. There's a lot of movement and layers. I encourage people to touch my paintings because they're sort of like sculpture. They're not flat and quickly done. There's a lot there. So as an artist, where do I see myself? It's really hard because I don't think that I'm motivated by anything other than to create it. Like, if I had my own gallery, I would just hang all my own stuff in there and call it done, and just keep adding stuff there. It's not like I want to sell to, have a certain amount of income out of it. That's not the point. It's, I just don't know what to do with it all at this point. So I was told that I was selfish one time because I'm not selling my work. But I don't know that I'm selfish. It's just that, I haven't needed the income from it, which I'm very fortunate for. I create for the sake of creating. So, I feel that in order to take it to the next level is going to probably require somebody with connections that I'm going to be introduced to one day, and they're going to go, holy crap. I think as an artist, I want to be validated as an artist. So by somebody that their voice means something, that is respected within the art community, to say, hey, this guy's for real. He's a good artist. He's a bad artist, but he is an artist. I like his work. I don't like his work. Anybody can be an artist. Everybody is an artist. It depends on how deep you go. Some people say writing a letter is creating art. Okay, I totally believe that. So it's just where you take it. It's hard for me. I mean, I think I would love to be validated by being able to show in a museum or something, throwing something out there. But ultimately, I think that would be great, just to have a piece that is shown in a structure that, the Guggenheim. That'd be great. That just doesn't get much higher than that. New York City Museum of Art, something like that, where they're like, here's one of Anderson's paintings, just one. It'd be cool. Just to, I don't know, before I die. It's not to sell a painting for $100,000. I'd love to do that, I guess. But it's, I don't know. I would like the art community to be able to see my work with the proper lighting, in the proper space, in the proper environment. And that would be a proud moment for me. But I'm not there yet. It's coming.
What would you say to like somebody that's our age or younger to inspire them, like to really light a fire underneath young people? What would you tell them?
Well, young people, old people, there's a set of people, I think. There's many people. I mean, everybody has their natural talents, I think. But a lot of times I think that natural talent is exposed early because of what you can get your hands on. I think, everybody starts off as sort of a clean slate. Somebody that ends up being a Formula One race car driver, it's usually because they started off on go-karts, or they had access to their father in the garage. And to people that say that they're not artists, I think it's just because they haven't been exposed to the mediums that are out there. I mean, if you say you're not an artist, but you draw every day, or get involved with painting every day, and you just stick with it, you'll be an artist, and you'll be a good artist. But it's muscle response. It's just like an athlete going out and throwing a touchdown pass. They're not born to do that. They have to work at it. But it really comes down to passion. I have a passion to do this. It's easy for me to come down here and 6 hours go by like that. I mean, literally, kind of like being in a casino without the windows. You don't realize how long you've been in the casino, because I'll come down here and just lose myself. But, if somebody really wants to be an artist, they will, because they have the passion. And then it's just a matter of get the materials you want to work with. You want to work with watercolors, you want to work with paint, you want to, sculpt, whatever. Go out and buy the stuff and surround yourself with it. Make yourself a little space that is just for your artwork. Set up an easel in your bedroom. I mean, I set up an easel one time in my bedroom, and I had a blank canvas on it for like 2 months. And I stared at a blank canvas. And then one day, in about 45 minutes, I painted a whole painting, start to finish. And then I left the room, and I didn't touch it again. And it's actually, I still have it. But staring at a blank piece of paper until your mind comes up with something, and then make it. There's so many ways to be an artist. I mean, you can do it electronically on your iPad, or I prefer to use paintbrushes and paint. I like the physical part of it versus electronic. But yeah, anything can be considered art. Your voice, whatever. You just need to practice. Spend the time. Follow your passion. I mean, if you've always wanted to be a painter and you spend your time singing, you probably won't be a greater painting after 3 years if you're practicing on singing, But if you really want to be a painter, then practice. See what happens. Keep things simple. A good friend of mine said, you got to go in and get out. Make your paintings faster. Stop spending months on fine detail. And so this used to be just a couple of lines with a couple of circles. And true to my nature, I couldn't stop. So actually, part of this painting was painted with my right foot. I have toe marks in there. I was barefoot. But, again, this is layers and layers and layers. So for the past couple of months, I see things when I go to bed. I know where this painting is right now. And I know that I don't want to touch it. I know this is completed. There's nothing else that I think that I need to do to this. But for months, I would come down with an idea, and it goes on top, and then there's layers and layers and layers, and then I sand a lot of my work. Spend a lot of hours down here sanding, and it brings back the history. So yeah, so this piece it started off as my idea of what a motorcycle ride would be, believe it or not. And it's kind of turned into a whirlwind of, I don't know, I wouldn't really call it a motorcycle ride anymore, but I think it's cool. I do want to do a projection onto it. I would like to take a projector and then, cut it all in and then literally shoot images on it to see what it would look like, because it's partially reflective. I think that would be really cool. But, the lighting in here is really not touching on the detail of it. It's probably hard to see, but yeah, there's a lot of detail in there. So I'm proud of that one. I think it's good. It's 15 feet by 5.5 feet, I think is the size. So that's going into Crafty, so people will be able to see it. And I just got to get the right lighting for it. I think that one's gonna be a cool one. I love to hear what people think. I'm fascinated by hearing people's, thoughts on what I'm doing, even if it's bad. Some people don't like my work, and that's fine. I don't like all the artwork I see. But to hear their thoughts or what they see, and then they'll accuse me of, painting something, an image within an image, and I'm like, I didn't even see that. They have to go up and show me what they're talking about. Sometimes I never see what they're talking about. It's your own. I think these are puzzles in a way that it forces your brain. If you stare at this long enough, it won't be as complex. If you give it 2 minutes, just stare at one spot. Just choose a spot and stare at it. After a while, I'd say 40% of the image will disappear, because your brain can't get around it. It's too busy. And it's when that happens, if you sit on this couch, I've done it, when that happens, all of a sudden, who knows what you're going to see when most of or half of the image goes away. It reveals what your brain is really looking at, which will change from day to day. Next time you do it, you're not going to see the same thing. Yeah, I can't really see too many. I mean, I see a lot of stuff in there, but there's nothing intentional. So it'll be interesting to see what the feedback is once it goes into the public. It's a big piece, so no one's going to miss it. If anybody out there knows a good art agent, I'd love to communicate. Got a lot of images to share electronically, and a lot of real work as well. So I would like to get out there. I've been sort of working in the foxhole. I need to get my head out of the foxhole. And I think, maybe there's part of it that is my shyness in a way to allow my work to be exposed that way. I do it for me. I don't do it for anybody else. I mean, I say that I don't care what you think, but deep down inside, I think we all care that someone's going to love our work. So yeah, I continue doing it. Thank you very much, and happy 2026.
You want to just get up and walk?
You want me to get up and walk away?
Left.
Let me walk to the left. Is that good?